This is Eric Hagen from DeSales University. Welcome to my presentation on Flex Learning, a meaningful option for post-traditional learners. This presentation is going to describe and share the results of our ongoing experiment with Flex classes. So I'm going to provide, number one, a little bit of background, two, explain why we went down this path, three, talk about some practical issues with too much flexibility in Flex models, describe our DeSales University Flex models in detail, talk about how it's going a couple of years into this experiment, and then six, how is it relevant to our current situation with the COVID-19 pandemic. As far as background, a little bit about my university. We're a medium-sized Catholic regional university in eastern Pennsylvania. The primary domain for this Flex initiative has been our adult part-time undergraduate program, which is known as Access. It helps to know what we were starting from. So we already had an extensive hybrid course program, and how we described a hybrid course was a course that has both asynchronous online elements, which in our case was 45% of the instructional hours, and then a live face-to-face element, 55% of instructional hours. So this hybrid model that we had pre-existing, that was the base upon which we built our Flex model. So what is that Flex model, or how do we describe it at DeSales? So it's that hybrid course which I just described, with the new wrinkle that it offers the student the choice of experiencing the live portion of the course either online or face-to-face. So why did we do this? Well, we wanted to continue to offer adult students the option of live in-person classes. I think in common with a lot of similar programs, we have seen a transition of student registrations from traditional in-class learning to fully online and often asynchronous learning, really because of the convenience factor. We wanted to offer those students who still value a live instructional experience a good alternative. We wanted to maintain or increase student and faculty satisfaction. We wanted to leverage web-based technologies, so we had a cost-effective system. We knew we couldn't afford to have purpose-built professional conferencing systems. We needed to have something we could kind of put together ourselves with off-the-shelf web-based components. We did not want to place an undue technological or pedagogical burden on our instructors, so we wanted it to be practical to teach in this mode. And we wanted it to not require a technician to babysit each live session. So we wanted it to be scalable, that we could have our instructors get some training and kind of take it and run with it without having to have both an instructor and a technician allocated to every single class. So this is what our tech configuration for a Flex class kind of looks like, and this is actually the COVID-19 version of a Flex class. So the COVID-19 part is that plexiglass shield that's around the podium, as well as those seats that are marked in blue. Actually, you can't sit in them anymore due to distancing. But the thing you can't see is in our typical smart classroom, which again was the base from which we built the Flex classroom, just like I was talking about the hybrid class being the base that we built the Flex format on. In our typical smart classroom, there's the instructor podium, there's either a smart board or a projector and screen type setup in the front, which you can't really see in this picture. So this kind of shows the additional elements. So you can see those two large monitors, one on the side wall and one on the back wall. Those are both used to display the online students that are participating from the class from home or wherever they are. There's also two webcams in the room. There's one in the back that essentially mostly shows the view of the instructor in the front of the room, but we've also added over the years a second camera in the front of the room, kind of in the corner, that provides those online students a view of the class. We got some feedback from the online students that they knew they could be seen in the classroom, but they really couldn't see the students in the classroom, so we added that second camera. We've also added a kind of a confidence monitor in the back that's that smaller monitor in the back that just mirrors the content that's being shown on the main screen. And we have our current design features 2 array microphones that are mixed in the ceiling, one in the front and one in the back to pick up both the instructor and the students. So this is a Flex class that's kind of actually running. So you see there's students in the classroom, and then on that rear monitor you can see the at-home students are displayed on that monitor. And essentially that view in the back of the room is intended for the instructor, and the one on the side wall is intended for the students that are in the class. So the whole idea is to make the students, well, all the students, both the ones online and the ones in the classroom, feel like they're active participants in the class. And what we want to avoid is the feeling that the online students are just kind of watching the class. We want them to be part of the class. So that's a close-up. We call this the betraying our age, either the Hollywood Squares view or the Brady Bunch view of the students. So these would be the online students participating in our Flex class model. So there's a lot of different models for Flex classes. The original one, the HyFlex model from Dr. Brian Beatty at, I believe, San Francisco State, was one of the the original documented models. But you could have flexibility in to what degree do you allow students to choose whether their class is online or in the classroom, or whether it's synchronous or asynchronous. So you have to either choose to do all those things at once or sort of constrain it in some way, shape, or form. And we've definitely decided to constrain it a little bit. And I'll explain a little bit why. So some practical issues with what we view as overly flexible Flex models. So the main feature and benefit of Flex models in general is student choice as to the mode of interaction with the content, with the faculty, and the students. A typical design strategy is to create multiple paths through the course material, but that provides some challenges in the real world. So in one version of the Flex model, you essentially have to construct parallel online and in-person courses. So that's a lot of extra work for your course developers, who in our case is often the instructor that's teaching the course. It can be difficult or confusing to teach the course for the typical instructor, and we have a mix of both adjunct and full-time instructors that teach in our adult education program, but often they're adjunct instructors, and it's just putting an extra cognitive load on them if the methodology and the technology is too confusing. And then the third point is just that tech complexity. We wanted to kind of minimize that, and just lack of clarity as to what a Flex class is, because if there's so many different dimensions upon which you can decide what you're going to do, it becomes difficult to sort of understand or describe what the model is. So in our case, what we decided to do was that we did not change the original hybrid class design in terms of what degree of the class was asynchronous and what degree of the class was synchronous. What we did change was to what extent you could experience the class online or in the classroom. So that live portion of the class that was formerly the classroom portion of the class, the students can choose whether from class to class whether they want to continue to come to campus and attend that class in the classroom as they always did, or zoom into it, so to speak. And again, they can kind of mix and match. They could one week do it one way, the next week do it a different way. So that's the flexibility that they have. It's great for a lot of different use cases, travel, weather, all sorts of things, but it preserves this idea of the live class for the people that prefer live interaction with an instructor, whether that be face-to-face or through technology. All right, so again, to reiterate the Sales University Flex model, particularly from the point of view of the students. So what are the flexible aspects? The flexible aspects are that you have choice into how to experience the live class session online or in person. As I mentioned, you can change your attendance mode from session to session, and alternative class formats are typically available. So this isn't the only format we offer. So we have fully online asynchronous classes, and we have this just as an alternative for the significant minority at this point of students that still like either the classroom environment or the live environment or some combination of the both. So what are the constraints on the students? Well, the constraint of this model is you must attend the live class sessions in real time. So you must be on camera during the entire live session and ready to participate, just as if you were sitting in the classroom. And as I mentioned, the asynchronous-synchronous ratio is predetermined and fixed. So in other words, if you cannot just view a recording of the live session, that doesn't count. To be considered present for the class, according to our attendance policy, you have to either be live in the classroom or live online. So that's both a constraint and a kind of a feature, I guess I would say. So how does this model fare institutionally? Well, it gives us a shared understanding of what flex means. So we have a policy document that describes our particular model and what's to be described internally and to our public when we're talking about a flex class. It provides an easy on-ramp to online for traditional instructors with minimal additional training or course redesign required. So essentially, if you're already familiar with this hybrid model that we had before, the asynchronous online piece remains the same as it always was, and the classroom model now has the new wrinkle that some of the students are going to be online, but for the most part you can still teach the class as you would have before, that live class. Certainly there are some minor things you have to change, maybe how you do group work, how you distribute handouts and materials, things of that nature, but for the most part you can still have your interactive lecture type class like you did before. There's limited need for online real-time technical support because we've tried to keep it pretty simple. We still do have technicians that are around, especially when the classes are getting started and when new instructors come online and at the beginning of our terms to make sure things go smoothly. The live aspect of the class helps build community feel. So if the only thing you ever experience are asynchronous online classes, and those online classes perhaps didn't have a lot of video or other instructional activities in there that made you feel part of a community, you could become a little alienated from the university. But this very much live class experience helps build that community feel, which is important at our university. And it's a great selling point for our adult undergraduate program. It's a great feature that we have. You can, again, take asynchronous online classes, but if you want to be either on campus or have a live class experience, we have that for you, but still maintaining a lot of the convenience of online classes, even though, again, the live aspect puts some constraints on it. So what technology do we use? Our learning management system is Blackboard, but I think you could do this in any learning management system. Our web conferencing system is Zoom. That's worked very well for us, and in recent months, it's with the great expansion with the pandemic and a lot of things using Zoom, it's really performed wonderfully well. The additional classroom hardware we had to add on top of our standard smart classroom configuration are principally those large video monitors. Now I mentioned we added that third one that's kind of a confidence monitor. We have an internet-connected mini PC that sits behind one of those TVs in the class that runs Zoom Rooms. There's a webcam and the microphones. And the one-time cost per room, give or take, is about $3,000. And that's just for equipment. So we have our own technicians do the installation. So what have we learned from doing this for the last couple years? Students seem to like it, and faculty seem to like it. It keeps it simple for faculty. Again, it's not, it has added some tech complexity. I don't want to minimize that, but relative to different things we could have done, keeps it fairly simple. It is important to have a technician available to do setup and troubleshoot problems. Again, especially like I said at the beginning of terms or when we have new instructors. We're always looking for tools that work well that you can use simultaneously in the live class with the online students as well as the in-classroom students, and something like Poll Everywhere is great because you can have students in the classroom answering, say, based on their smartphones, and people at home can be at the same time participating in the live poll. Zoom has a polling feature in it as well, and so those kind of tools are great. The Zoom breakout rooms are useful for group engagement, so we found that works pretty well as long as there's, a typical strategy is that, you might take your people in the classroom and break them into a couple groups and the students online into one or more groups, and then you can have everybody come back and report out. And it works really well as long as you don't have a situation where there's one student either online or in the class and it's hard to make a group of one. We found that most students stick with one mode or the other. In other words, they either come to the class most of the time on campus or they do online, but there definitely are some people that switch back and forth. Most students continue to attend in the classroom, at least up to this point. We'll have to see in the pandemic era whether I would anticipate that more students would attend online than before, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. We've been all online throughout the summer, but pretty soon we'll be going back to classroom students on our campus, including for this adult education program. And we continue to work out the best technology setup. And one of the key things is the audio. So that's our latest design is the two array mics. That's working pretty well. We're trying to avoid having different kinds of microphones that need to be on the person of the instructor because that just adds another complication. So we're trying to have an in-room system. The student feedback on the system has been very good. This was from a survey we did a little while back. We found that the vast majority of students would take another flex class, and again, the freeform text comments were very positive, and I've included some representative comments on this slide. So finally, from the time that I put in this presentation proposal till now, my world has changed just like all of yours due to the COVID pandemic. However, we found that our experience with this particular model has been a key part of our COVID response. So in the fall, we're planning to open up campus again to our traditional day undergraduate population, and we are moving to a flex-like model for those students. So it's a little bit different than the flex model I described in our adult education program. The similarity is that our on-campus students can opt to attend online, so that, for example, if they felt like if they were quarantined for quote COVID-19, or they were just a little under the weather or not feeling well, they can opt to attend online. That part's a similarity. But the differences are, under the model that we'll be using with our traditional day undergraduates, some of the students are going to have to rotate to online attendance whether they like it or not. So because of distancing in our classrooms, some of the classes registration is going to exceed the capacity of the room, and there'll be a rotational schedule where some of the students that are essentially the overflow will have to attend via online whether they like it or not. So the original model, it was the student's discretion. In this case, they don't have any choice some of the time anyway. We're trying to minimize that. And of course, a big difference for those of us that are involved with doing support work for our faculty and for our students is the scale is going to be very much higher. So we probably never had more than, at the high end, 10 flex classes running at a time in the evening, but in our fall traditional day semester, every single class is going to be run this way. So wish us luck. Here are some references that you can check out that are related to flex class models. And finally, if I can be of any service to you in further explaining this model, or if you have anything you'd like to share with me, please feel free to reach out and contact me at the university. I thank you very much for your attention to my presentation.